Oh, it says we are live once again. We will find out in a moment here. So obviously we had some things go a little sideways, and that's how it happens. But we fought through it. I want to thank my marketing director for tolerating this emergency and always being there when we need her. One rule of thumb in this business world, in this community, is always have people around you that are smarter than you. That can do what they're supposed to do to stand in there and help you, right? So listen, we're already way behind. I see some folks are maybe still hanging around here. And if you hear this a little later on, we're just going to get right to why we're here today, because she's already gave us 20 minutes of her time while she waited for us to get our act together here on Conversations with Geoff. But we're here now. So let me just go right to it. And as I will ask you, as you hear this later, make sure you drop some comments in there. You share it with some folks. You subscribe to the channel, and make sure you connect with our guest. She's going to leave her information in here as well, because you're going to want to do that. That's for sure, right? So anyway, just a quick introduction. Our guest is one of those people that are near and dear to my heart. Old school, I say old, but a school teacher. Once upon a time in her life, 14 years as a biology teacher. And still doing what she loves to do in her real estate business, teaching. And she'll tell her story maybe about how she got into real estate. It's kind of not the normal way of doing it. One of those aha moments that she grabs by the horns, right? She's that kind of person. And she shakes it until she gets what she needs, and she gives it the same way. So, but one of the most important things about her and important to her is her family. She's a mom of two, and, from all the stuff I see them doing, they love to eat, do some cool meals, and travel. And she still speaks and gives time back. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome to you our guest, JoAnna Anderson. All right. Let's see if we can make this happen. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Hey!
Hi.
Hi, JoAnna. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, yeah, it's our pleasure. As soon as I mentioned you were coming, people were like, when is it going to be? Then you had you wait, so I appreciate you hanging around. They're coming back now. So, hey, as you come in the chats, please let us know where you're coming from, who you are, and say hi to JoAnna and give us some love throughout this message, all right? That's the only things we ask. Show some love. And if you're at Facebook, please let us put your name in there, because for some reason we don't see that. So all I can say is hi, Facebook user. I really like to use your name. So anyhow, we were chatting, before we went on. We had these other things, JoAnna, and as always, I only gave a brief background of who you are. So maybe there's an interesting story about your childhood. Maybe we kind of go back. You mind sharing that a little bit? I mean, it's amazing. It still amazes me. And then we'll kind of get into some of the things, roadblocks and challenges that you had and your family and what's going on. So, hey, Jackie Brown, thanks for showing up here in Pennsylvania. All right. So go ahead and tell that story. I love to hear it. It's kind of crazy.
All right. Well, I guess the shocker is that I am the baby of 28 kids.
Mm.
And that created a lot of poverty for us, but also a lot of character for us. Yeah. And we are a close family. We all grew up in the same small town. Now, just to clarify, my mom had 9 of those children and my dad provided the rest, but we're all from the same small town, and we love deeply. We love each other deeply, and I had a great childhood being the youngest.
Yes.
Getting the hand-me-downs and the protection, but then also the freedom, because my mom was just tired when it was just me in the house.
Whatever, just go ahead and leave.
Yeah, she's like, you got it. You seen what the others did, and you know what not to do.
Yeah,
so
right.
I had tons of freedom as a child, as a young adult, and also worked since I was 14 years old. We were all, big at helping out with the bills. Also, I got my first bill. I think I was in charge of water bill at 14 when I started getting the check. Checks come with bills too.
That's right.
So I had to help out in the home, just like my siblings did. With me being the last, though, I had the least to do.
Yeah. And still a little spoiled maybe too, because historically the last baby is always the rotten baby.
I am not going to say spoiled.
What are you gonna say?
I'm going to call it protected
Okay.
and loved.
I'll let you slide with that one. That makes sense. And someone else says they love being the youngest too. So let's get that,
Yeah, I will also say that unanimously, my family will say that I am the bossiest one. And
Oh,
I say I have great leadership skills.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I will say the same. Tremendous and a little bossy, and that's why you're part of the community, the badassery group, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that for just a minute. So my folks may be interested in that piece too. So as the boss, you're growing up, usually there's a lot of reasons where you could be the opposite of who you are. What was the one thing that you hung on to that you can share with the audience? Maybe there's more than one, but what comes to mind when you're like, man, I did this over and over again to help me get there? What could you share?
Well, I will say that I never doubted myself. Growing up, there's a whole lot of reasons why I shouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
You know, small town, number one, poor as I don't know what, number two. But I was smart and outgoing.
Mhm.
And my siblings, we're the first generation to go to college. And out of 28 of us, I think there's 5 of us that went to a 4-year college. And me being the last, but it just never seemed like it was not possible.
Yeah.
I put, and as I look back, I put very little effort into it. I applied to one college, and that is only because they had already promised me a scholarship.
Wow.
In my mind, I was just going to go to college.
You're
That's
gonna go to college.
I didn't, the whole applying and searching for colleges that just went over my head.
Yeah.
Even though I was very smart, very involved in school and had multiple leadership roles in school, it was just never a doubt that I would go to college.
Yeah.
So everything kind of just fell in my lap, and I would say the only thing I contributed was not doubting. God did all the rest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, and doubt, that's powerful because the numbers usually don't end up in that direction.
Yeah.
And you having all those things set there, and so doubt's a powerful message there. And thank you for sharing that. So
You're welcome.
You go to college, you get married. Kind of fast forward a little bit. Now you're teaching, and you're like you say, when is it enough? Tell us about that, because life changed for you when you stopped teaching.
Yeah. So I started investing while I was teaching biology, high school biology, taught for 14 years. And I officially started in 2012. I accidentally started probably 7 years before that. And that was just because we had our first home we had built right before we got married. And then we were moving 3 months after that.
Wow.
And so we built in a brand new community where they were still building. And so we couldn't sell that house. Why buy our 6-month-old house and you could have one built to your standards for the same price?
Yeah.
So where we were moving at that point, I'm like, I don't want to rent anymore. I'm above that.
You arrived, right? I can't.
My first house, I'm above that now. So I was like, well, we've got to find a house where we can afford both mortgages. And so I found a very, very distressed, almost haunted house in a nice neighborhood.
Yes.
And we could afford both mortgages. So I was like, look, we can just fix this one up while we live in it, and until we sell the other one.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did, and ended up moving a year after that again. And we made $40,000 on that one accidentally. We were not investing. That was not our intention.
Yes.
But we made 40,000 when we sold that a year later. And
Mm.
so then I was like, oh, we could really do this. It took me 7 years before I officially did it.
Wow.
And I decided to get serious and invest in my education, and then everything skyrocketed after that. With the proper education, you can do anything,
Yes.
but it's the doing that makes the difference, because people can get educated on a million things and never do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about that before we hopped on here too.
Yeah.
And I want to come back to that, but I want to speak to something you said. I think you said it took 7 years
Yeah.
to officially become the investor that you are today.
Hmm.
So it's never too late.
Never.
Never too late, and you never know. As long as you keep showing up and doing something, if that's
Yeah,
what you really want to do, you'll get there. So I appreciate that. And so
absolutely.
now you're there, and you were talking about. We were talking about this earlier because why this is important, because I want you to make sure you tell people how they can get a hold of you, as from a coaching perspective, and
Hmm.
kind of person that you work with. We were talking about that. I want you to share for those listeners out there that are really thinking about real estate and getting involved in a business, some things that they need to avoid
That they need to avoid.
or not, yeah, or who you prefer, what type of student works out.
Oh, yes. So for me, I like to coach students that are go-getters, that learn and do. I don't want people that are just going to learn and then I have to reteach it the next time and the next time and the next time. I understand that some people need to hear it twice or maybe 3 times, but I need to see the action. I need people that are going to take action, because I want my words to go out. I want my teaching to go out and bring back a return. And I'm not talking about a return in my pocket. I'm talking about a return in my students' pocket. You
Yeah,
should be getting a great return for your time, for your education. I mean, we go to college for 4 years, sometimes more, and never use that degree. What a waste. What
yeah,
a waste. I can say that myself. I have a degree in biology. I used it to teach for 14 years, which is great.
yeah,
I got some form of a return on it.
yeah.
But now my time is more intentional with real estate. I
Mhm.
still make sure that I'm getting educated in real estate, because there's so many levels to this. I've
Yes,
done so much in real estate, but when I look at the huge perspective of real estate, I've done nothing. And
yeah,
so I've got to go get it. I've still got to learn. I still got to make sure that I'm great for my students to be great.
yeah, yeah. And that may, for those of you listening, that may sound a little harsh, but as you may know or already experienced, there are so what she wants to avoid is making another investment and not doing anything, like so many people do,
Mhm.
spending tons of money and what, never do anything, let alone a deal. I mean,
Yeah.
they're still back in the state of paralysis, right? I mean, so
Mhm.
don't let that. If I'm listening and I hear that from her, I would welcome that kind of person, because you know what you're going to get, right? And she's helped thousands of investors in her
And
exposure.
who made millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yes, yes, yes. So I mean, it is real. This business is real. And so thank you for sharing that. And the information is in the chat. And we'll say hi to a few people, Jackie Brown for showing up, and Steph and Nita. And appreciate you folks being here today, and share some love as we go through this message, right? And appreciate you guys being here. So let's talk a little bit then. Talk about real estate, and we know you're doing well there. But there was a point in your life when things kind of got sideways, physically.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just talk about that. Let's chat about that for a moment.
Yeah. So last year, I had a fierce battle with cancer,
Mm.
with breast cancer. I had to do chemo for a full year. And I'd actually had this cancer for many years and didn't know it. I
Mm.
noticed the problem. I'd go to my doctors and share that problem with them, and they couldn't find anything. So when it finally revealed itself, it had spread from my breast to my lymph nodes. So it's stage 3 cancer.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, well, I am all about quality of life and not quantity.
Yes.
So I had to think, I've lived this long with this cancer in my body.
Yes.
How much can I juice this life while I have it?
That's right. Juice it up, baby. Come on now.
Because I felt no different all those years, and even when I found the lump under my arm, I was like, okay, well, I was in the best shape of my life. I felt like, other than being a teenager.
Right, right.
So I had to like come to grips with, am I going to go through chemo, which I'm going to feel awful, or am I just going to live with this? It's like
Mm.
a weed in a garden.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the weed out, or I'm just going to let it grow with the flowers. So it took me a while to make that decision. I was actually diagnosed 9/11
Mm.
of 2020, and I waited until June to actually start chemo.
Mm.
Because I wanted to be sure that it was the right decision for me. That very day that I was diagnosed, they already had a plan for me to go do this, that, and the other thing immediately. And I'm like, no, I'm going to take my time and think about what's best for me.
Right.
So anyhow, I did end up doing the chemo, and I did a double mastectomy.
Mm.
So the chemo, whew, that was rough.
Yeah.
And that was the only scary part about going through. I never thought, and here's the doubt part again, I never doubted that I would survive. I knew I would survive, but I didn't know how I would feel. Like, what was this battle going to be like?
Yeah. Yeah. You shared that along the way too.
Yeah, yeah. So I faced the chemo, and it was tough,
Mm-hmm.
but my mentality was, okay, this is just a season. I'm going to get through this. And so how can I enjoy the parts of the season?
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed going to chemo.
Yeah. You said that in some of your conversations. I'm like,
Yes. Chemo day was a very peaceful day for me.
yeah.
It was a very nice room,
Mm.
windows from floor to ceiling.
Mm.
You can looking over downtown or uptown Charlotte, and it was just quiet. And I'm a very busy person, and so just to have that 8 hours, that's how long my chemo was for a while, eight hours or a little bit more, to myself, where I could rest, I
Yeah.
could, just have some me time. It was very peaceful, and so I looked at it that way. And then the effects of chemo, I had zero point 0.5 energy for like a week. So I went every 3 weeks. And so 1 week of that, I had very little energy. Obviously, I lost my hair, and that includes my eyebrows and eyelashes. And that's when it really got emotionally bad for me. When I lost my eyebrows. So I was like, this looks crazy.
I remember seeing you, but you were showing up. You were letting people in your life.
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
good, girl, with that clean look. Come on.
I didn't so much mind the bald head, but when I lost my eyebrows and eyelashes, I was like, look, we got to come out of this and quick. This is not a good look. So anyhow, I made it through the first 6 months of chemo, and I celebrated. Celebrating is a big part. I still had 6 more months of chemo, but after that first, which was a really hard chemo where you lose your hair and the really low energy, I celebrated, and my best friend and I went to Aruba right before my double mastectomy. So I had like a strict window of time that I could go and be back with COVID testing in the clear and everything so I could have the surgery. So I did end up having the double mastectomy, which was not as drastic as I thought it was going to be on me emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I have new boobs now.
Yeah, I think you showed them too, didn't you, or something?
I did. I posted with the scars and everything.
Go ahead, my beautiful Nubian queen. Show that thing.
And so, yeah, I mean, that was kind of a powerful moment for me. I've never been one for a plastic surgery or anything like that. For me personally, I don't care what anybody else does with their body. I was just going to make it work with what God gave me.
Yeah.
Well, but when he said it's time for this cancer to go, I was like, take those two and let me get something new and bouncy that's not going to be affected by gravity.
Oh, that's right. Stand up all day long, right?
Yeah, I mean, somebody in the audience needs to know you can bounce back from anything.
Yeah. Not just you, but your boobies too. Can
Exactly. So the interesting thing was, I worked the entire time.
Yeah, you did.
That full year, I worked through chemo. I made it do what it did, and I did more projects. I grew my rental portfolio, and I think that really helped me to keep going. Because, when you have a purpose, when you have goals, that can really push you through some tough situations.
Yeah.
And so I never stopped working. On the days I felt good, I even got up and ran. I'm a runner.
Yeah.
On the days that I felt good, I got up and ran my 3 miles or whatever I could get in that day. I still worked out through chemo. I still got fat through chemo.
Oh, that might be some of them diseases you were showing too.
During chemo, you can't taste any. The taste is way off.
That's right.
And so things taste really bad except for ice cream. So I ate tons and tons of ice cream. I said, look, I'm going to give myself some grace.
There you go.
While I'm going through a tough process. And if I gain weight, you know what? I also know how to lose weight when it's time.
That's right.
So I made it through chemo. I survived. I came out better, bouncier. And my business is booming.
Yeah. So talk about the business. And thank you for sharing that journey with us.
You're welcome.
And she's, you can go check out Facebook. I don't know how you go back and see it, but go back and look at it if you can. I mean, she really was there, just being that leader that she is. So thank you. I felt like I was with you, even though I'm in Texas, just because.
My friends and fans showed up big time during chemo. You have your low points, you really find out who's there for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, they really pushed me through.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, right? That community love, no matter what you're doing, right? So,
yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm really very humble, powerful person you are. But so your business is growing and all that, but even then, part of our discussion or comments were you were thinking small. One of those things you realize. When did that experience? For those of us out there wanting to grow our business and can't seem to get in above the next level, thinking small may have something to do with that. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So life really hits you when you have a down moment like that. And prior to that, I also have kidney failure. I've had it for 17 years now. So life has, in my mind, I'm not going to make it to retirement years.
Yeah. Wow.
So I had to decide I'm in charge of that.
Yes, sir.
The world's not in charge of when I get to retire. That 65, you get to retire at 65 is some BS. So I decided, look, I don't know when I'm going, but I know that I'm going to juice this life while I have it.
Yes.
So I decided to have my final retirement at 52. And before that, I'm going to take a 3-year sabbatical where I'm going to live a nomad life. And that starts in a year. I'm so excited.
Yeah. It's coming. Be here soon, girl.
I know. So my daughter graduates high school next year, and she'll be going off to college. So for me, that is when I'll start my 3-year sabbatical that will be funded by my rental property. So there has to be income, obviously, while you're enjoying life. You got to produce some income.
That's right.
So I set a goal. I was like, okay, so what does that look like? How much money do I need in order to accomplish this? So I decided that I need 40 rentals, all cash flowing, $300 minimum each in order to take this sabbatical, because that will take care of all of my expenses.
Yep.
And so I am at number 23, but I just bought a quad, so maybe
Yeah.
I'm at 27.
There you go. Come on now. Just bought that thing.
And
Already rented.
I've got to get, the rest of the 40 before I can dip out
That's right.
and travel internationally. So I might spend 1 month in Spain, a month in Germany, 2 months in Africa. I definitely have a week at least in Harlem.
Yes.
I want to stay there.
Yes.
And then New Zealand and Italy are at the top of my list.
Oh man, beautiful places. Beautiful places. And you're gonna get there because what people don't know about you is you're a goal-setting monster, goal-setting machine, and you teach a lot of that too.
I do.
And people were saying congratulations and awesome and
thank you,
warrior and hollering at you, and it's so true.
Thank you.
And maybe our paths will cross because our timing is different. My wife and I have some similar things, so we may see you somewhere else in the world.
Okay.
Right. So, but that's not a person that's thinking too small. All that stuff you just shared.
No, but I was, prior to that, I was in the same mindset as everyone else. You get to retire at 65.
Gotcha.
That's thinking way too small. In my business, when I first started, I was like, I can't have a rental.
Yeah.
In my mind, you have to have all of the money to pay for a rental. Like you can't finance that any other way in my initial mindset.
That's right.
And so I waited 3 years before I got a rental, and my first rental cost me $9,000. So because I felt like I had to have all the money, so I paid cash.
Yeah.
I paid cash for it, but then as the passive income started coming in, I was like, I think there are other ways to do this. Then I found lenders that would fund rental purchases. I learned about the BRRRR strategy. I started using more seller financing, and my rental portfolio grew. Let me add that I got divorced in 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
And he made me sell all of my rentals, which were some of my kids' rentals. So I had to also start over.
Wow.
And so what my portfolio would be larger, but now it's all mine. So
That's right.
Yeah. And so I was able to really accelerate my growth due to that divorce.
Yeah.
That divorce, is something about a humbling experience, or when your back is against the wall that you really get to flex your muscles. And so I have been flexing, let me tell you.
Flexing and juicing.
Yeah.
Right? Do that juice because you just ran a couple races here recently, didn't you?
I did. Look, I just got released by the doctor last Monday.
Okay.
I ran a race on Sunday for Mother's Day.
Didn't you go to the oh man, where'd you go?
I went to the Outer Banks, and that was 1 week before the doctor released me. I was like, look, I feel good. I'm gonna walk this one.
Okay. How far was that one?
It was all 5Ks.
Oh, 5. Okay. Well, that's still
3 miles.
Yeah, that's still, hey, don't say it like that. 3 miles.
Well, I mean, look, 3 miles when you are hefty after chemo and steroids is feels like 5.
Yeah. I get it, but you still took one step at a time.
I did, and I've got some more scheduled. And my goal this year is to do 10 5Ks, 1 10K, and then 1 relay race. So my girlfriends and I had set out to do the Selma race from Selma to Montgomery, which is 52 miles.
Oh my!
Yeah, that's a big race that they do, and so we were going to split it up as it's a relay.
Okay, so you run a portion, and you guys hand off the baton.
Yeah,
interesting. I have to tell I was thinking ready to say I'll have to tell my wife that, but if I do that, that means I have to run too.
Yes, you do.
She's a runner, and just off subject for a second, my brilliant idea. I said, well, I'll do that too. I'll start hanging out with her and all that. So the result of that is, I've been in a few half marathons with her. She runs, I walk.
Nice.
So I never thought that would end up that way. Right? I just thought it was something I'd do. And she said, okay, you can go now. But we've been able to do some things around that. So I'm encouraging you to keep going. And that's the other thing. We will check that out.
Okay.
I know we're running close to time because we're over. I do want to ask you, something you said, and thank you so much for this time.
You're welcome.
Just being you. But how do you overcome some of the things you talk about? Getting around the right people. What's taught you about yourself in the journey that you could share with us?
So, what I've learned about myself is that I always have way more in the tank.
Mm.
So, even when, I feel like, oh man, I've made it, I know that I have not made it. I
Yeah.
know that there's more, that it's just time to set new goals, that
Yeah.
I have leveled up, but I'm not at the top. And I never want to be at the top. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room ever.
Yes.
So I'm always looking for opportunities to grow. And sometimes I just need to sit back and make sure that everything I have on my table already is taken care of.
Yeah.
So for a couple of months now, I've been trying to get my general contractor's license, my commercial general contractor license, and it has been kicking my butt. I have failed that test twice. And so I have to look at myself. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not somebody that fails.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Yeah.
But that's just the kind of pressure that I need to make sure, that I'm still growing. It's a good thing to realize that you're not all that all the time.
Your humbling pie is good.
There's room to grow.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna get that test.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. I'm not a quitter.
you know.
Yeah, and there are some goals attached to having that license that, I need it. And I'm very goal driven. So in order to get to those goals, I got to get this test underneath me.
Right. And you're doing that, and it's showing other ladies behind you or next to you that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there aren't a lot of female contractors, and when you get into the commercial space, it's even fewer.
Oh yeah.
I'm always encouraging anyone that says, "Hey, I want to do that," help them do that, because you ladies have a place in this business,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing that, and you're showing that, and there's a lot of ladies on here that like got their hands up for you as well. So, listen, I promised you the opportunity to tell people about some of your upcoming events before you dash out of here. So maybe take a couple of minutes and talk about how they can get in touch with you coaching wise, and then what you have coming up in a few months.
Yeah, so I have a speaking event coming up with Re-Up with my good friend Christy Duckett Harris and her husband Noah Harris. This is going to be in Columbia, South Carolina, and it's the reupmeetup.com. And so that's a weekend talking about real estate investing, lots of different things. So we'll be talking about some commercial investing. We'll be talking about fix and flip, wholesaling, marketing in general. I'll personally be on the fix and flip panel.
Yes.
And then after that, we're going to launch a marketing boot camp that follows up the Re-Up boot camp. And that'll be me, Christy, and Corey.
Okay.
Will be teaming up to provide an amazing marketing 8-week session. I think it's 6 or 8 weeks.
Okay.
And so that will follow Re-Up Meetup. I have a YouTube channel, which has a video diary of my projects, mostly my projects in Virginia. So I invest in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. My videographer, or my good videographer, is in Virginia. So you'll see most of my projects are in Virginia that are on YouTube, but I have projects everywhere.
So how do they get you on YouTube, JoAnna? Is it just JoAnna?
No, it's under Remnant Real Estate Solutions. So it is under my company name.
Okay.
Remnant Real Estate Solutions.
We'll try and get that in the chat before we get out of here. So
okay. And then also there's some amazing seller testimonials where you can learn, you can be inspired, but you can also learn how to create solutions, win-win solutions for everyone that really make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah. And that's at the end of the day, I mean, that's kind of who you are.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Why we're lucky to have you here today. And,
Thank you.
and the people that are hearing this now, and those of you that hear it later, make sure you jump in. See, yeah, we got it in the chat now for anyone interested in the YouTube information is there. And if you want the other, JoAnna, I didn't get the information to the folks in time to put it in the chat. But I'll make sure that anybody interested in the, where is it, Columbia coming up?
It's Reup, REUP, meetup.com.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
And then I also offer one-on-one coaching as well for people that actually do want to take action, not just learn, not just talk to me, but people that want to take action.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, she doesn't play either, because I had to help me do some things and said, well, what are you gonna do? What part are you gonna do? I was like, well, I wasn't planning on doing anything. And she said, well, not today. So oh man. Well, hey, listen, it's close to that time when you've got to scoot. So any parting words? I mean, this has been fun, and people listen to it later. Make sure you drop some love too. And those of you that hung in there with us, even with the delay, we appreciate you. Just kind of shows the kind of tribe we're creating and developing here. So, and they're saying, how can they reach you for coaching, Nita? Is there?
Yeah. So you can reach me in the messages on Facebook or Instagram. On Instagram, I'm JoAnna, the favored one. On Facebook, it's just JoAnna Anderson. You can reach me through either of those. Then also my email is JoAnna, JoAnna, at remnant, REMNANTRES.com. So JoAnna at remnantres.com. Parting words, I would say, I would encourage everyone to today make a list of the things you've accomplished. You need to, for sure, celebrate your wins. Look at your own strength on paper written down and live in that for a moment. Mm-hmm. And then make another list of the things you still want to accomplish and pull from the strength of what you have accomplished to accomplish those things you have yet to do.
Wow. That's deep. And the magic in that is what? It keeps you moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
It feeds that momentum. So that's a great way to end the conversation today, JoAnna. And many thanks. I'm looking forward to talking a little bit more about the marketing campaign. I'm kind of intrigued as to what you guys are going to be doing there, because as we know, marketing is everything in our business.
Yes.
Right?
It is. That's where most people stumble. They don't market. They just wait for things to happen, like I did in high school. They did happen. Yeah, the marketing is going to make things happen faster and more frequently.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, hey, JoAnna, thank you so much, and thank everybody for participating today and being a part of the conversation with Miss JoAnna Anderson. And we'll make sure her email's in the chat. Yeah, I see it's in there too. And if anyone wanting to get a hold of her and you don't have it, just reach out to us and we'll make sure that happens.
Okay, the email is not quite correct. I don't know. Can I type in here? It's Remnant RES. Remnant RES.
Remnant RES. All right. We'll should be able to get that fixed before you folks log off.
But even if not, you can still find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah. Well, listen. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wonderful time. And we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Yes. I'm clapping. Yeah.
Thanks to everyone that joined in.
Pardon me, say that again?
I said thanks to everyone that joined in.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Take care, JoAnna. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, hey, listen, we're already at noon, so I'm not going to be long. She left some really powerful stuff. And if we could get her email in there correctly so folks can get it later on. Thanks, Steph, for your comments, and Nita and Jackie and Dr. Tatum, always appreciate everybody showing up. And I'm just going to challenge you to do what she said, right? Make a list of what you've accomplished and then make that next list. That's a powerful way to wrap this up. And then I'm going to add to that, though, the conversation that goes along with that list. Be aware of what that conversation is. Is that conversation feeding the fuel to make these things happen? Or is it that conversation that's holding you back? It's only going to be one. So what is your TV? I'm going to ask you to leave you with this. What is your TV? TV meaning your transformational vocabulary, right? What are you telling yourself? Is the vocabulary lifting you up or is it holding you back? And then what phrases are you attaching to it? Am I all stressed out, or I'm hungry all the time, or I can't do this? All those things hold us back, right? Change the things you say to yourself about yourself, and your world will change. Check us out at transcendingcompanies.com, our website, for any coaching that you may be looking for as well. And we do have some great monthly programs that we're going to be launching here in a little while. Ladies and gentlemen, we really appreciate you supporting us, and share this. Make sure you do that and subscribe, and we will see you next time. All my information is in the chat. And remember what she said, celebrate the small wins. We all need to do more of that. All right. Hey, see you in a week. Take care. Have a great day. Thank you again.